Okay, disclaimer. The video you are about to watch is something I made a while ago. It was for a summer reading project for school. I don't know how I got an A on it because I did not explain things very well or very clearly, even though this is a book I really like. So I'm mainly just posting it because of the Speedpaint, because I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, I might redo something like this in the future because I do really like this book and I would like to explain it better. But hey, if you want to watch me paint something and hear a little bit about the book that I read and loved, watch on ahead. Hope you enjoy. Hello, I am Ray Teo, and I read Slaughterhouse 5, or The Children's Crusade, by Kurt Vonnegut for my summer reading book. It was published in 1969, and it is a novel. It's a very well-known classic, and I chose it because it's a classic, and also I've always been curious about what it's actually about, because I knew some of the plot points, but I still didn't really know how it made any sense whatsoever. The book is basically a book inside of a book. In the first and last chapters, it's addressed in the first person as, from the perspective of the author himself, Kurt Vonnegut, saying how he's going to write this book. So it's kind of a huge meta. That's the least confusing part about this book, because the whole plot is sort of out of order, which is kind of the point. So Billy Pilgrim has come unstuck in time. He is abducted by aliens, the Tralfamadorians. I don't know how to say that exactly, but you know. And they can basically see in 4 dimensions, so basically see time all at once. So they see the past, present, and future, kind of in one. The book cuts between his time in World War II, serving in as a prisoner of war in Dresden, his childhood visit to the Grand Canyon, his life after the war as an optometrist, his time in a mental hospital he's in for a little bit, and when he's in the hospital after he gets in a skiing accident, and when he's in the human zoo on the alien planet. So it cuts between a bunch of those scenes throughout the book, in kind of chunks. Billy Pilgrim experiences many hardships in the war, or as you would expect. He witnesses many deaths, on his train ride to the prison camp of the scouts he was traveling with, this guy named Ronald Weary, and he survived Dresden during the bombing by staying 60 feet underground in a slaughterhouse, hence the name Slaughterhouse 5. That was the number of the slaughterhouse he was staying in when he was a prisoner of war. And he even witnesses a man being shot to death for simply stealing a teapot, so it goes. Needless to say, Billy Pilgrim has experienced a lot, and the book ends how all massacres do, with the sound of birds tweeting. The book in general is very interesting. Like I said, it's all told kind of out of order, which shows Billy's kind of disconnect with the world after the war. He has a lot of trouble coming back into society after the war due to PTSD, which at the time was not an actual diagnosed thing. So Kurt Vonnegut, props to you. I really enjoyed this book, actually. I had a lot of fun with it. It had huge just quotes that kind of blew your mind, and you were just like, wow, someone wrote that. Someone put this in a book that it makes a lot of sense and surprising, and you're just like, wow, that was impactful. I had to set the book down a couple of times because of how heavy a quote would hit. And one thing that did really surprise me was how funny some parts were, even though the book, I just described it, so many hardships, so we're talking about war here, and some parts were just kind of so surprising and kind of funny, and you're just why am I laughing at this? And that was super interesting, and it's a great balance. The author pulled it off really well, and that it just blew my mind. It was great. And I enjoyed it reading it like the whole way through. I was not disappointed with what I decided to pick for my summer reading. A very important takeaway from the book is very obvious. That's what I also liked about it. The theme is like, you'll understand it from like the first chapter. There's this quote that basically summarizes it very well. It's in chapter 1 where it's basically the whole meta of Kurt Vonnegut's like in character talking about how he's gonna write this book, and the wife of one of his friends, I believe, she says, well, I know, you'll pretend you were men instead of babies, and you'll be played in movies by Frank Sinatra and John Wayne or some of those other glamorous, war-loving, dirty old men, and war will look just wonderful, so we'll have a lot more of them, and they'll be fought by babies like the babies upstairs, which she's referring to her children sleeping upstairs. And that's kind of the whole point of the book. It's very anti-war, and it hits hard with a lot of quotes like that, and shows the effects of war on people itself and the effects of war in places, especially when Kurt Vonnegut, he describes the bombing of Dresden and the wasteland that it left, and Billy Pilgrim has to, as he's working in kind of like a prison camp after the bombing, he has to dig up corpses and stuff that were buried in the rubble. And it's just a very impactful scene. And the way the book also drops in, like, after it mentions someone's death so casually, it'll just say, so it goes. And that's kind of to make the point of, oh, I'm going to write this kind of like in a desensitive way so you realize how actually this is a big deal. And it's a good anti-war book, and it's not trying to hide its theme at all, which is kind of appreciative, but there is still so much to dig in with this book, which is why I think the important takeaway that the author was trying to get it. And Kurt Vonnegut also, well, he served in World War II, and like I said, the book was published in like shortly after that, like during Vietnam-ish, and so trying to get that anti-war message out. So yeah, it makes the readers kind of realize, hey, like, we'll consume like media about war and all of that, but like even this book is kind of like a media of war, but like in reality, war is not great, obviously. So it kind of takes the glamour out of it, so to say. Not that I'm complaining. I would recommend this book to literally anyone who read The Catcher in the Rye and can appreciate it, because reading this book alongside Catcher in the Rye, best decision I ever made. I don't regret it. It's great to compare these books so well because they were written around the same time by two men who served in World War II, and like the way they try to convey like similar themes actually works. Like it blew my mind how many similarities there were in their themes, and I think it's a great book to read after you've read The Catcher in the Rye. You can kind of see how it kind of works together. And so that's all for my presentation of Slaughterhouse 5, or the Children's Crusade. And as you probably noticed, the whole time I've been talking, there's been a speed paint on the screen, which I made an artwork for this book. I decided to paint Billy Pilgrim, the main character of the book, so to say. And I was very inspired by some abstract or cubism type styles. It's pretty simple, it's a small little painting, and I included the "so it goes," a very reoccurring line in the book. So I hope you enjoyed this, and definitely recommend the book. Go read it if you haven't.